All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Phoenix RIA Tuesday show with Luke and my good friend John Williams on the Red Room channel. This is on my Facebook, Luke's Facebook, the Phoenix RIA, and the Viking Real Estate YouTube channel. So you can
Yes.
follow any of
What's up,
those.
everybody?
So I was lucky enough to go have a couple drinks with my buddy Johnny, and I'll give you just a 3-minute history. Johnny and I have been in real estate together for a long time. I think I met him in 2002 or 2003, something like that. Obviously, the downturn happened in 2007 or 8, and we were all making a lot of money prior to that. Fast forward to Johnny and I being roommates for
Oh,
for
heck yeah.
for about a year and a half at least, I think. And so, you know, moving in the same house because we, saving on a little bit of money and that kind of
For
stuff.
sure.
But I was also fortunate enough to sell Johnny some homes, and during our little drinking session, he's like, "Do you know that one house I bought from you had parlayed all the way into a trailer, not a trailer park, but a RV park up in northern Arizona." That's the story, right, Johnny?
Well, it's not entirely true. It was actually multiple homes I bought from you. I did that in multiple
Oh,
parks. So yes,
Heck
but
yeah.
but let's talk about that one particular one. It's an RV park up in northern Arizona, right?
correct.
And then it started with a $79,000 purchase, right?
Yeah. So
Jeez.
our thing is buy and hold and cash flow. And after the 2008 GFC, when everybody was buying flips at the auction and able to flip them for huge amounts of money, we never sold, even though that was enticing. But that was just um, our deal was just to keep the homes because we knew we didn't want to do this forever.
Yep.
So so we bought that house, and as I was talking to Chris the other night with my partner over drinks and dinner, and just kind of telling him how much the 1031 exchange process has been a huge part of our success, and that we utilize that more than anybody I know, and just thought it'd be a good way to tell people about it. But that's what we did. Is we bought that house. It was a nice Maryville Terrace house,
So
right in the
Johnny,
cul-de-sac.
really quick, just for
Yeah,
the viewers that don't know what a 1031 exchange is, do you want to explain that to them?
yeah. In layman's terms, it's exchanging like for like. So when you sell a property, IRS will allow you to exchange a like asset for like asset. Within, they have certain time frames. It's 45 days to identify, 6 months to 180 days to close on the transaction, and then they will let you do a tax deferred exchange of your property, of your profits, so that you can roll those into another property and
And then
keep buying up the ladder.
and then one of the stipulations is just that it has to be a higher price, though, correct?
Yes, you've got to exchange your boot, which I always recommend getting a qualified intermediary. But yeah, typically you're going to be buying a larger asset and trading up, and you can identify up to 3 properties,
Yep.
and you can also purchase multiple properties on the upleg.
Heck yeah.
All right, so you started with a $79,000 purchase in Maryville, and then where did it go from there?
Yep. So we did what we usually do back then: put some lipstick on a pig, ripped out the saltillo tile, painted it, and I want to say that we made on that deal like 60,000.
And you did, and on a 1031, you have to keep it for at least a year. Is that correct? Or
If you were going to sell it, but if you're going to do another 1031, I don't believe you have to keep it for a year, but don't quote me on that.
Right.
So we sold that property and we took the proceeds and we ended up buying a triplex, which used you, Chris, for the hard money. And we used the exchange amount for the down payment and rehab. and we fixed up that triplex, and we ended up selling that and exchanging into a fourplex.
Heck yeah.
And I think we sold that one and traded into an eightplex,
I
and
love it.
ended up selling that and buying a depressed value add trailer park.
That's amazing.
And then how many spaces is the current trailer park? Or is it a trailer park or is it a oh no. Is that the end of the process or is there still one more?
There's still one more. So we took that was a deal that we renamed here in Phoenix. We bought that. That was totally depressed. In fact, the owners were absent owners. Manager actually had died. So there was nobody running the park for like 3 years.
Oh, geez.
Squatters in the storage room. I think we took like 18 months to fix that up. We sold that and we made $850,000. And then we used that as the down payment on the $2.75 million purchase up in Yavapai County. That is arguably the most beautiful RV park that in the area and the most beautiful one we own.
And where's that at in Yavapai County?
Camp Verde.
Okay. Heck yeah. And how many spaces is that?
It's roughly, we're using like 80 spaces of it right now. It's zoned for more. So we're working on expansion to fill it out. But yeah, it's about an 80 space park.
Oh, that's amazing.
So are you, so it's an 80 space park. How many can you go to if you fill it all up?
Well, so this park's zoned for 103.
Okay.
However, will I get that? I don't know. I mean, everything's kind of changed nowadays with counties and when you're adding spaces and you're increasing the density. So not sure if I'll do it. I know for sure I won't be allowed septic. So I'll have dry spaces. But still, it's always you never know until you try it with different counties. And then, of course, if you're going for septic, that's run by the state. So,
okay. And how does that work in the sense with yours? Where do you charge each spot a certain amount per month, and that includes their water, their septic, their trash, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So RV parks, my partners and I's bread and butter is mobile home parks. That's what we do. There, you're renting out the lot rent.
Okay.
So we basically own the infrastructure below the ground, and we rent out the lots.
Yep.
The tenants own their trailers.
Yep.
Or mobile homes, and they pay a space rent. This RV park's a little different. It's more of a destination, a transient park. Most of our guests come in with very expensive rigs, and they'll rent out their space for anywhere from a weekend to a month or two.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So quite a different animal as far as managing, but it's certainly been fun. It's one of my favorite parks to go to.
So how many employees do you have on that park that kind of take care of everything?
So we've got 3 sets of work campers. So these are residents that stay there at the park.
Yep.
And then they do a rotating shift. So we've got six workers for us that help keep the park up. And we're lucky to have some of the best workers, co-workers to work with up there.
Oh, that's so cool. And then, so you typically just will let them stay, they'll stay there for free or something like that. And then part of it is them taking care of the property when they're there.
Yeah. So they'll get free space rent and utilities, and then they'll also get paid as well. Okay. And then there's other people that work there that may just trade space rent for work. And
yep.
Yeah, but it's a completely different demographic with RV parks versus permanent all-age family parks. That's what the majority of our properties are.
Heck yeah.
Now this is a side note, and I didn't know anything about this, and I'm going to ask Johnny. So, mobile home parks have an advanced depreciation of 110% for first year, and I think that expires at the end of this year. Is that right?
As far as I know, we don't know when it's going to expire, but it is just kind of I don't know if it's a loophole, but it's something to take advantage of. There's a one-time bonus depreciation that you can take at purchase. So instead of depreciating it through the life of the 27 years or whatever, you can take your depreciation up front. And we've certainly taken advantage of that, and my hopes is I don't pay any taxes for quite a few years, and by that time we'll continue buying and continue getting loss carry forwards, and
Right.
don't
Right.
have to pay a whole lot of taxes.
Now, does that work
Heck
for
yeah.
mobile home parks and RV parks, or is it just
Correct.
mobile? Okay.
Correct. RV parks, mobile home parks, yeah.
Okay.
Do you prefer one over the other?
I mean, if there was 10 today, I'd buy them all. You know, so really,
Yeah. So no, not really.
it's supply and demand. Had I known now what I know, back then, I would have bought more RV parks. RV parks are more management intensive
Okay.
because you have people coming in and out. Mobile home parks are permanent. Everybody owns their own
Right.
coach. Sure, I would love to have 50 more of each,
Right.
but
Yeah.
can't get too greedy.
No, for sure.
So they're just different animals. I would say for the newbie investor, either or would be fine. Mobile home parks are easy because they're consistent. Everybody lives there. They're permanent. And with the rental market in Phoenix, I mean, we're 99.9% full at every single park that we own.
Jeez. That's awesome.
Now here's another funny thing that I've just learning mobile home parks that I wouldn't have thought. Like, obviously, sometimes there's a point where you have to evict the tenant on a mobile home park or something like that. Well, a lot of times you can actually then also keep the trailer, which instead of just having a space rent, now you're getting rent for the trailer as well. But the banks actually frown on that a little bit, right?
As far as owning the homes?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I hope my banker's not watching this, but so it depends. So to look at it backwards, if you were buying the park and went to my banker and said, "Hey, look, there's this 50 space park and 40 of them are park owned." Typically, banks don't like that because mobile homes are typically old. They don't make great long-term investments. Insurance companies also don't like insuring park-owned homes, right? And so that's not a problem. What we do, and we've done that plenty of times before, where we'll go into a park and we'll get a bunch of park-owned assets. Now, with this rental market now, I would probably keep them all as park-owned.
Right.
However, in the past, what we do is we create paper and go to each renter and say, "Look, here's the deal. I'm going to make you a deal where you're going to own this park. I'm going to create a note, and we're going to set a price that we both agree upon. It's going to be, very close to what you're continuing to pay in rent or what you're paying existing in rent. And we'll just create a note, and then they'll now be paying us, and we'll basically be the banker, and then they'll have a note to pay us off, and eventually own that home free and clear."
Oh, wow.
And that's just so that it's more financeable, right? I mean, you do that to make it more financeable. Like you said, it's like to own the asset and get the rent is obviously,
Yeah. So there's two parts to owning a mobile home park. One is the space rent, and the other is the creating paper, which we'll do with a separate LLC. But we create the paper, so now we're getting their mobile home payment on top of the space rent. So we're creating more income for ourselves, which is the beauty of these things. And yes, unfortunately, people don't pay them off all the time, and when they just move out or they don't, then we get to take the home back and start the process all over again. Yeah. On average, we do that 3 times before somebody buys it.
Yeah, jeez, that's awesome. Go for it, Chris.
I was just kind of like that, we've all been around real estate for a long time. It's like, oh, just lease option the house, because how many actually are going to come through and buy your lease option, right? So,
right. I was going to ask John, what's the average value? I mean, I know it's probably they're all different, but I mean, if you were just to kind of take the average, what would you say is the value of these, of the not the park, but I mean like the houses on them? Is it 20 grand? Is it 50 grand?
Well, right. So what we buy, we like to buy. So we buy grandfathered in parks.
Mm-hmm.
Parks that have been around for a long time. They're not making any more of them. There's a finite number of parks in Maricopa County.
Yep.
So more times than not, they're older homes, right? majority of them are all going to be HUD homes, which means they were built after July of 1976.
Yep.
But they all need work, all different shapes and sizes. Ranging from travel trailers to RVs to park models to mobile homes to manufactured homes to double wides and then modular homes. So there's a wide gamut, but what we sell them at, I would say when we first got into this business, we were selling them for, 7 to 10 grand. And now we're selling for sometimes 20 to 30.
For sure.
So we always like to give a good deal. Let's face it, most of our residents can't go and buy one from a manufacturer because those take 18 months and those are north of 100 grand. So
exactly.
I'd say that the paper we create is always in that $10,000 to $20,000 mark.
Heck yeah.
10 to 30. Yeah.
Nice.
And is that a 15-year, a 10-year?
We actually we make it real easy and just do kind of a flat rate every month until they pay it off.
Oh, wow.
So we just like to make it super easy. Yeah.
So there's no interest behind it. Let's just say it's 15 grand. You divide it by 300 a month and boom, it's 50 months or something like that.
Yep. We're just getting our money back. So,
yeah. Do you think, so here's a question. Do you think that if you charged interest, do you think that it would push them away? Because I would tend to think that maybe it wouldn't push them away because, they might be thinking, oh, well, whatever, it's not that big of a difference, extra 4% on, say 15 grand over however many years. I'm just wondering if that could be another way to make a little bit more.
So to charge interest would have to be a licensed mortgage banker.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Which is, the third party stuff. So, what we price these things at, we're getting our profits built in the payment amount. And once again, just, we'd like to make it easy on these people.
For sure.
And I say these people, that's the wrong word. Our residents, we want to make it easy on them.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. Heck
yeah. That's awesome. And so, Chris, it sounds like this is pretty amazing. So I don't know anything about mobile home parks, anything like that. I've been in the industry for 8-9 years now, but I've always stuck to wholesaling, single family, small multifamily. We're starting to get into kind of larger multifamily now, new build stuff like that. But this is a whole nother avenue that I just don't know much about. So it's eye opening. So, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I'll give you just a small example. So Johnny and I both had the 2007 reset, right? Yep. And Johnny went in. He went and found an investor. I want to say he was paying him 10%. I don't remember the number, but we were living together, so I knew the number at the time. And he went and bought, I don't know how many, 60 Maryvale homes. I don't know the number, something like that. And he just went for a completely cash flow model, and I'm still in the operation model where I'm still wholesaling houses now. Jack coming on board 2 years ago has definitely taken me more to an owner position than an operator position, because I was strictly just an operator. I was actually having to work every single day to wholesale my 1 or 2 properties a day to generate the income. Whereas, this one example that we talked about, his $79,000 Maryvale purchase to his RV park, is just one example of one of his spaces. And I want to say you own 8 or 9 RV or mobile home and RV parks, something like that. I don't know the exact number, but or maybe it's 12. I don't know. It's I really don't ask Johnny his business that much. I just know that he owns a lot of them, and he gets a lot of passive cash flow. So
yeah, so I was a big wholesaler at the time. I guarantee nobody's probably heard of me on this podcast just because it's been ages, but it was all transactional income. And after the downturn, and I started representing some bigger investors and buying, Colony Capital before they merged with Invitation, I guess. But, I sold them their first, it was like a 60 home portfolio.
Heck yeah.
And then some of my investors bought 200 houses from me. And at that time I said, you know what, I want to be on the other side of the table. And, I no longer want to do just transactional income. So I made the choice to find a partner, start raising money, and buying houses. And I think the first year we bought 50 houses, single family homes, and second year bought another 50. So we had 100. And then shortly thereafter followed the multifamily market. And I remember telling my partner, we're going to buy apartments. We're going to buy 50 apartments next year. And he's like, whatever. You couldn't believe it. And I wrote it down on our, dry erase board in my house. And that's where we officed out of. And we did. We bought 52 apartment buildings the next year. And, so not coming from any money, had to do that and kind of leapfrog from buy houses, buy 100, sell half to pay off the other half and the other investors, take the 50. And then we sold the majority of those for apartments, took the 52 apartment buildings and 1031, all of them into trailer parks.
Wow.
And part of that time I was actually officing out of Chris's house. We had our assistant come up and my partner and I up in that front guest bedroom. So thank you, Chris.
That's
and,
awesome.
Was I doing a little equity because of that? I don't know.
I think so.
Probably were. Probably were.
John, these apartment buildings that you bought 50 of them. What did they range in size between? I mean, were they duplexes, triplexes, all the way up to 50 unit, 100 unit?
So I'll take a step back, and I was taught that the uglier something is, the more money it makes, right? So coming from that mentality. So these were all C-class properties, value-add distressed properties.
Yep.
And this is back when Fannie and Freddie would list REOs, and there was no minimum time to vet the homes.
Right.
It was the agent listed it, and first offer, you get it in, they can take it. So, Saturday mornings, I'm up at 6 a.m. at this boarded up apartment complex, and speed dialing the agent, saying, here's my offer. Take it. Haven't even seen inside yet because it's still boarded up and nobody can come look. Open it up.
Yeah, right.
And that's what we did. And so these ones were all duplexes. Up to the largest was like a 12-plex or an 8-plex.
Okay.
But majority were 4-plexes, 8-plexes.
Yep.
Or multiple sets of 4-plexes. But that was the low-hanging fruit back then. And God, I wish I would have kept. We sold out when we thought it was the top, but we sold out for a reason. That reason was to exchange into parks. Now, if I would have waited, I would have made 4 times money. What they're going for now, I'm astonished. However, there aren't as many parks for sale now, and I wouldn't have been able to buy parks. Sure. And no, we've got quite a few of them. Not as many as I'd like, but certainly enough to make a healthy living.
And then did you burr most of these properties?
Did we what?
Did you burr most of the properties you were purchasing?
Got it. That's funny. I learned that on TikTok, the BRR method. But yeah, that's what we were doing is, so everything was to fill up, to rent out. And then, the only time that we want to sell is when we want to upgrade our asset, right? And
exactly.
Our ultimate goal was to change asset classes into mobile home parks because that's what I originally started out in this business, was working for a private real estate company who did that. And we bought 17 parks while I worked for them. So I got the lay of the land, and I told myself I always want to go back to that.
Yeah.
But I couldn't go back to it because I didn't have any money. In fact, when I started this thing out, I was piss broke, dead broke. And so I had to buy cheap houses to segue into apartments, to segue into mobile home parks.
Yep.
So we rented them all out, fixed them up, added value, made them all occupied, raised the rent, and then we would sell those, as an income stream to a buyer.
Yeah, right.
And then a lot of times we would even package them up, which was more important on the houses. In fact, Chris, you remember that pack of 10 single-family homes that you sold over in the Bahamas?
Yeah.
We made $1 million off that, and we put that down and bought a mobile home park with that.
Right. Jeez.
Yeah, I just happened to be lucky enough to take Johnny to the British Virgin Islands. He's like, "Hey, Chris, do you want to sell 10 houses for me?" If we'd have been in Phoenix, I wouldn't have had a captive audience. He might have test the waters with a couple other guys because he knows everybody in town.
No. I will say this, that Chris is my longest, best, most important strategic partner I've ever had. I learned early on when back when I was doing the wholesaling and the acquisition, you know what, pick one side or the other. You know, I chose acquisition because there was Chris and I could partner with him.
Yep.
And we just got along, and we got each other. And yeah, I've sold more houses with this guy than anybody else ever.
Hard to not get along with that guy, isn't it?
Well, to be honest, we almost got in a fight a few times.
Well, I mean, being roommates, that'll happen.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I do recall that.
No, I
Yeah,
mean,
we had a couple yelling matches. It happens.
Hey,
We're almost like
that.
we're like brothers, so you're allowed to do that with your brother, right?
Oh, absolutely, you are.
Absolutely.
But yeah, John, that's something that we do too. Is we you know, we kind of tell people too, like, you know, I think a lot of people are always on that fence about buying, especially for the first round of properties that you can actually buy. And it's like, you know, I'm a big proponent of just buy as soon as you can as well. You know, buy the second that it allows you to, the second that you're able to. And even if it's not, you know, what you want to get into, just buy. Like, so, I mean, when I started buying actually condos. I started with the least expensive thing that I could get, but I mean, I was picking up condos for, you know, between 45 and 55,000. This was like 2012, 2013, something like that. And then just sat on them, you know, through tenants in them, sat on them over the years. And over the years, you know, the $50,000 properties that we were purchasing were now worth 100 to 150 to 200 to 250, and did the exact same thing, you know, did 1031 exchanges on all of them, and just started trading up. And so, I mean, I think 1031s are so powerful that I don't think people utilize enough of. And I mean, God, it just shows you. I mean, you went from a $79,000 property into, you know, mobile home park that what could be worth $6 million or something like that. It's or $6 million worth of real estate. It's wild to think about.
Yeah, and it's you know, it's legal, it's free, it's, you know,
yeah, right.
Do it. If we didn't do that, there's no way we could have gotten up there paying the capital gains taxes. And
yep.
There's so many other benefits to the 1031, which we haven't even touched on. You know, but buying properties and then doing your cash out refi, you know, buying a commercial property, doing your cash out refi, leverage, putting some debt on it, and then
yep.
you know, that cash refinances are tax free.
Right, exactly.
You know, but as you stated, just controlling real estate, which I've always told people, like, well, how do you get started in this? And just say, start with one.
Yep,
and
exactly.
do it, you know, but you're going to need to have at least 3 properties in your portfolio to get some decent cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
But controlling real estate is the name of the game. And that's what I learned early on. And yeah, I'm like you, I started buying the least path of resistance properties, the low hanging fruit.
Exactly.
You know, and now I just buy, you know, manufactured houses on lots, and I develop them, you know. When everybody started buying all the houses in Phoenix, I took off out of Phoenix and started buying in other counties. You know,
we have that in common as well.
Yeah, go where the masses aren't in real estate, you know, and probably in life. But you know, don't always follow everybody else and go where the masses aren't, and you know,
exactly,
find some way better deals. But once I started doing that, and then you've got, you know, these building blocks, as I call them. You know, people probably would look at a manufactured house on a lot that is cheap and be like, oh, that's not that great, and maybe I can't cash flow as much. Well, I'll tell you what's great is when you can bundle up 5 of them, you know, instead of making 30 to 50 grand per house, bundle them all up. And now that's going to be your down payment on a nice, you know, B-class apartment building.
Yep.
And or trailer park, you know, so that's really the value of it right there.
Exactly.
And what we've utilized.
For sure. And you can, and a lot of times, you know, especially with mobile homes, I mean, from what we've come to realize, what we've come to find is that a lot of times those sellers are letting them go cheaper. There's just no doubt about it. You know, they might not have the same value for it of what an investor might have for it. And so, you know, they don't want to deal with the fact that there's, you know, 3 dump trailers worth of you know, junk in there that they don't want to have to get rid of. And they've got another property. And so they're just like, you know what, I'm just kind of over this property. And so a lot of times we've noticed that with mobile homes, we're able to get those quite a bit cheaper versus the actual value of it, opposed to like a single family home.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you why. If a realtor goes to list their property and they've been there for 10, 20, 30 years, there's a lot of cleanup. Usually the seller doesn't have the money to pay for the cleanup.
Yep.
And the buyer simply can't buy this used home. and they don't have the time or the money because they're typically buying with FHA loans to be able to go in there and spend 20, 30, 40,000 on fixing it up. So there's this, the play there is anything that's distressed that, you can buy, fix it up, and there's going to be a buyer for it. Why? Because it's an affordable housing shortage, and you're at the lower end of the totem pole.
Yep.
And people need those homes, and there's really not enough of them to go around. So that's always a good strategy.
Absolutely.
Well, Johnny, I appreciate you jumping on with us and sharing your story. I mean, it was more fun hearing it after 3 or 4 beers than we had the other night. But I wanted to share it with everybody else. It was.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I was like, when I heard the story, I was like,
well, I was trying to be a little humble. I think we were smiling, about how when I actually went and backtracked the chain of title, that I'm like, wait a minute, I bought this with this house and bought, did the 3-plex, the 4-plex, the 8-plex, trailer park and that, but realized that's all of our portfolio has been assembled that way. And we've only ever taken the cash like once or twice. And that's the thing with people that want to become wealthy and have passive cash flows. You have to sacrifice. You can't always take that cash. What are you gonna do with the cash? Buy more things?
Exactly.
And if you like that, that's great. But 1031 it into something else, and or take the next step and 1031 it, then go get a cash out refi. Then you can have that money to play with.
Yeah.
But,
so it's not taxable.
For sure.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, cool.
I got plenty more stories anytime you want to talk again.
Perfect. We'll have you back on in a couple more months.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm down.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, John. Great having you on.
Thank you. Take care.
Yep. See ya.
We'll see you, Chris.
See ya.